NVIDIA's greater than 15% AI server price hikes starting early next year could squeeze margins for data center portfolios. So scan your tech holdings for cost exposure before next week's earnings. This is Modern Investing Techniques, episode 147. Quick reminder, everything we discuss here is for education and entertainment. The practice investment of the day uses simulated trades with no real money. I'm not a licensed financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice. Always do your own research before putting real money to work. The S&P 500 closed at 7,674, up 0.4%. The NASDAQ Composite closed at 26,180, also up 0.4%. The TSX Composite closed at 36,620, up 0.7%. Sentiment stayed constructive on AI infrastructure despite rising memory costs. The Fed's lighter guidance on its reaction function is lifting term premium expectations, while Treasury officials push to cap yields, creating mixed signals for rate-sensitive sectors. Trump renewed calls for lower borrowing costs, keeping pressure on the Fed ahead of its next decision. Remember, about 15 days ago, we picked TBBK on an earnings-driven entry. Today's Intel preview shows how earnings catalysts can still deliver even after sector rotation. Over the past week, the NVIDIA supply chain cost story kept shaping AI infrastructure talks, with price hikes now the focal point for margin analysis. Intel's earnings setup stayed a key example for options mechanics, showing how implied moves can override headline beats. Energy sector guidance plays gained traction as oil prices held steady, highlighting catalyst-driven entries in Canadian names. NVIDIA notified major customers of server price increases above 15% for systems shipping early next year, including Grace Blackwell and Vera Rubin platforms. This highlights a classic cost pass-through test in the AI supply chain. The exact hike varies by chip generation and memory configuration, with contract manufacturers already relaying the news to Microsoft, Google, and Oracle. Investors can apply this by screening suppliers and hyperscalers for pricing power using quarterly 10Q footnotes on cost of goods sold and segment margins. The approach works best when volume growth outpaces cost inflation, as seen in prior semiconductor cycles, but risks fading if end demand softens. Cross-check any name against 20-day average volume before sizing, per current rules. Track contract wins or margin guidance in upcoming earnings to confirm the pass-through is holding. Canadian investors holding U.S. tech names in a TFSA should also factor in currency exposure because a stronger CAD would amplify any margin compression from higher component costs. The memory chip cost driver behind the hikes points to a second-order opportunity in suppliers that can lock in long-term pricing before the increases take effect. This is a simulated trade for educational purposes only. No real money is involved. This is not financial advice. Today's pick is WCP.TO, Whitecap Resources. The strategy is a guidance boost entry on raised production targets and stronger cash flow outlook. The hold period is 5 sessions from entry. Invalidation comes if the next quarterly report shows production or cash flow guidance revised lower than the current update. The catalyst is the company raising 2026 guidance, sparking renewed debate on energy sector positioning amid higher oil prices. The technical setup shows the stock trading above its 50-day moving average, with volume running near the 20-day average. Nearest support sits at the prior swing low. Geopolitical headlines or a sudden oil price reversal could pressure the name. Set a stop at 8% below entry to cap loss. The target is plus 3% to plus 6% over the 5-session window if oil holds above recent levels. Confidence is medium because the guidance catalyst is confirmed, but sector rotation into energy remains untested on volume. This pick demonstrates how to quantify a guidance revision as a discrete catalyst rather than vague momentum. Then pair it with a clear invalidation level so the exit rule is mechanical. Listeners learn to separate headline optimism from the specific data point that would prove the thesis wrong. The energy sector focus also lets investors test whether the current oil price tailwind can overcome the volume confirmation rule that has filtered out several recent names. No newly closed trades since the last review. The most recent practice investment has already been reviewed. Current holdings remain open and pending their scheduled evaluation, so there is no new realized result to report today. The options play early breakout detector scans for fresh breakout candidates each week and pairs them with macro drivers and 7 specific trade ideas. It gives individual investors a repeatable screen for momentum names that also flags volume and sector context, reducing reliance on single stock hunches. Canadian users can layer the ideas onto TSX names via Questrade or Interactive Brokers watch lists. Access the weekly macro outlook and detector output directly through the Options Play social channels. The detector's emphasis on early volume confirmation aligns with the current rule set that requires above average volume before entering any catalyst name already in a sector rotation. Trump disclosed 1,051 stock trades, including 5 NVIDIA transactions in June. The filings show buys up to $250,000 on June 15th and $15,000 on June 16th, plus sales up to $250,000 on June 12th, highlighting timing around known price levels. Add NVDA to your earnings watch list and compare any post-report move against the June transaction dates for pattern confirmation. Supermicro board investigation clears current senior management of NVIDIA smuggling knowledge. An independent review found no evidence that present executives knew of the alleged $2.5 billion hardware scheme to China. Keep SMCI on the valuation screen, but require a volume spike above the 20-day average before any new position. Polymarket shows 43% probability Bitcoin reaches $90,000 by year-end 2026. The contract offers a direct market-implied probability that can be compared against ETF flow data for positioning. Size any crypto allocation no larger than 5% of TFSA risk budget until the probability moves above 60%. Portfolio performance shows 52 total trades with a 54% win rate, 28 wins, 23 losses, and 1 break-even. Cumulative P&L stands at plus $277.08. Matched window alpha versus NASDAQ stands at minus 1.69% across one rules-based trade. Average return per trade is plus 0.53%, with a best trade of plus 20.11% and a worst trade of minus 11.80%. The record began on August 18, 2026 under the published rules. Imagine you bought Intel shares last week ahead of its Thursday Q2 report after seeing the 163% year-to-date gain. Your order filled at the prevailing price, but the actual move depends on how the options market had already priced a 15% expected swing and whether the beat or miss exceeds that bar. The mechanism works through the gap between consensus and whisper numbers. A modest beat can still trigger a sell-off if the options skew had baked in an even larger surprise. Professionals always check the options chain's implied move first, then compare it to historical post-earnings drift for that ticker. Most retail investors skip this step and treat any positive headline as automatic upside. The concrete fix is to size the position only after confirming the implied move is smaller than the historical average reaction range. Intel's year-to-date run of 163% already prices in substantial optimism, so any guidance that falls short of elevated expectations can produce outsized downside even on an inline print. Canadian investors using the same options data through Interactive Brokers can export the implied move percentage directly into a spreadsheet to run a quick probability-weighted return scenario before the open on Thursday. Before we wrap, open your brokerage platform tomorrow and check how the WCP.TO position reacts to any fresh oil price data. That wraps up today's modern investing techniques. Remember, every trade is a learning opportunity, win or lose. Subscribe, share with a friend who wants to invest smarter, and we'll see you tomorrow. And if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at NARA Network. Links in the show notes. Quick tip from the network. Try the Do Positive pod next. Good news in science and tech, plus one concrete action you can take. Every NARA Network show is free at naranetwork.com. Want the written briefing with source links? Each show keeps a summaries page on naranetwork.com. Scannable, dated, and free. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.
Do you ever wonder where we go after this? Are you high right now? Do you ever get nervous? Do you ever stay awake, counting sheep like all the time? What's your life like? What's your purpose? When's your birthday? What's your sign? Are you down right now? Are you stuck up in the past? Are you still thinking about all the times that you